Thanks for tuning in to You See Me, focusing on the battle of self-love, acceptance, abuse, spirituality, and much more. Your host, Tina Wynn, will be sharing various ways and strategies that she used to overcome grief, addiction, and depression. You See Me is a self-expressed term Tina uses as a way of making people see the real you. For people to see you, you must first see yourself.
Hi, guys. It's Tina Wynn, your host of the podcast You See Me. And I would like to thank you guys for joining me and coming to see me. You can find me right here every Saturday at 4 p.m. on the We Empowered Network. So, for those of you who don't know, I have inside and alongside my ego, Quita. And the purpose of the You See Me show is to continue to see yourself. You have to see yourself to enjoy seeing other people. So, as Tina was seeing herself this week and preparing this episode, it caused me to go back and look at some of my earlier episodes. And we discussed some things such as growth, self-discipline, time, and the one that stuck out to me was last week's episode. We talked about Tina not being happy anymore, but being full of joy and being desperate to be in God's presence, because we all know that joy is found in the presence of the Lord. So as I was doing so, and I was going over, and I said, Tina, what is despair? Despair is a feeling of hopelessness. So when Quita was hopeless, how did you get her to follow Christ when she didn't see a way out? And as I began to think about that, it led me to today's topic. Am I a good leader or am I a good follower? And I had to dig into that. And most of it, when we ask people, are you a leader or a follower? They'll instantly tell you, oh, I'm a leader. No one wants to be labeled follower. But that's exactly what Quita was. Quita was a follower. And when we look at what a follower is a person who accepts the teachings of another person. And that's exactly what Quita did. Because I didn't see myself. So any and everything that people were teaching me, I followed. I didn't know that I would be following people into a life that would lead me into destruction, because I never asked no questions. I never stopped to ask questions because I had no plan. I didn't have any self-discipline. There was no growth. I was happy, guys. And remember from last week, it was external. So any and everything that came my way that felt good to me made me happy, and I followed it. And I followed people into a life that I wasn't ready for. And a lot of times that's what we do. We follow people into lives that we are not ready for. And then once we're in that life, we have nothing to follow to lead us back out. See, Quita followed people into drinking, drugging, crimes, all kinds of things. And as I was thinking, am I a good leader or am I a good follower? I had to remember how I was led into a life of despair. Because a lot of people can't find joy because of the things that they're following. Everything that I was following was making me feel more hopeless. I didn't see any way out. The people that was around me didn't have a way out because they were stuck there ourselves. We have to be careful of what we follow and whom we follow. Not everybody is going to lead you in the right direction. What is a leader? A leader is someone who manages, organizes, and guides others. And just because some people hold leadership titles and leadership positions don't mean that they are leading you in the right directions. See, because in order to properly lead, you must first learn to follow. And in order to properly follow, you must accept being led. See, Quita accepted following other people. Remember, we have to accept what we expect. I accepted the teachings of another person. Everything that life taught me and everything that people taught me, I thought was correct. I thought was accurate. It wasn't until I stopped following everyone and led myself, became that leader, started managing, organizing, and guiding myself, that my life started to make sense. So guys, we must, and I accepted the teachings of Christ. See, Quita's still a follower, so is Tina, but I follow Christ these days. I don't just follow anything that's given to me. We have to see ourselves, guys. We have to be self-disciplined enough, have a growth mindset enough of things that are occurring in our life. We have to be accountable and take account of all the things that are going on in our lives in order to be led in the right direction. Otherwise, we are going to follow people down some real dark paths that are going to lead us to a place of despair. And that's exactly what Quita did. Quita followed people down some dark places, and I was in a place of despair. So again, as I was going over this, and I asked myself, well, Tina, when you was in that place of despair, how did you get yourself out? Guys, we must let Christ lead us. We must let Christ lead us. That was the only way that Quita knew how to get herself and Tina out of that place of despair. I stopped following the crowds and started leading myself to Christ. See, because I follow other people to Christ, I follow people to church, and I followed their teachings, but it did nothing for my soul. I was happy. I wasn't full of joy. Why? Because the minute that person went away, and the minute that person stopped bringing me to church and stopped providing me with that external happiness inside, because it's an intrinsic job. Joy is something that is inside of you. And the only way to get rid of feelings of despair and to get rid of that feeling of hopelessness is, what are you being led by? What are you letting lead you? Who are the leaders in your life, and what are you following? See, I live a Christ-driven life now. If you're not talking about ways to make me grow, if you are not helping me build, and you are not leading me to a foundation of Christ, I cannot follow you. Which means Tina also has to be careful of the things that I put forth out of my mouth, the character in which I carry. Because you guys, my audience that is watching me, you guys are following me. And some people only follow you. Let's be clear. Some people only follow you to see if you are practicing that leadership role and title that you signed up for. Are you managing? Are you organizing? Are you guiding others? Because a good leader, their followers want to follow them. But are people following you in a good direction? Are people following you down the right path? And that's what I had to ask myself, Tina. People are watching you week after week. Are the things that you are saying aligning with the things that you are doing? Because we have to learn how to take account. See, I sit and I scroll through social media and I could care less about the followers, because if I could lead one person to Christ, the followers don't matter to me. See, I no longer want people to follow me. When Quita was out here in these streets and I was knee deep in my mess, I could influence people to follow me in any direction that I wanted them to go, because I had the good gift of gab. I could talk a person into whatever Quita wanted, but what were they following me into? And it was laid in my spirit. Oh, you full of joy, okay. And you want everyone else to be full of joy. What are you leading them to? Are you a good leader? Why are people following you, Tina? And I had to ask myself that. And as I got tickled with the question, I had to really sit with the question to say, what am I leading people to these days? Am I spiritually aligned with Christ, or am I just following the masses? Am I following the teachings and accepting the teachings of a person or people that's not leading me in the right direction? Because these are the questions that we should be asking ourselves before following anything or before allowing anyone to lead us. If you are not leading me to Christ, I cannot follow you. And if I am not leading you to Christ, I suggest you not follow me. If the things that I am putting forth out of my mouth is damaging to your spirit, is damaging to your soul, is taking away from you and not helping you get out of that hopeless place of despair, and you are not finding joy, if you are not finding growth, if you are not finding self-discipline, if you are not finding time in with God, and these are all the topics that I have presented you guys with, then stop following me, because I am not leading you in the right direction. We want our leaders today to lead us to victory. And I think that was Quita's problem as a child. I went to church. I've been in church all my life. I come from a Christian, my mother and my father were both Christian. They were happily married when I was conceived. So it's not like the seed wasn't planted. It's not like it wasn't in me. But as I began, and as Quita began to branch out on her own and go to some of these churches and follow some of these leaders, what was I really following? I was following how to be a hypocrite. I was following how to judge people. I was following how to look down on people. Not every leader is managing, organizing, and guiding you in the right direction. You have to be a good enough follower, because you are the one accepting it, to know if the teachings that you are being led into are right for you. And the only way to do that is to see yourself and to know yourself. How could you know what someone is leading you to is accurate for you to be following if you don't even know you? How do you know what you want? And this is what Quita was dealing with. Quita was being led in every direction. I was following the teachings of this one, following the teachings of that one, and it wasn't leading me anywhere. There was no leadership skills there. There was no leadership abilities. It wasn't until Tina got up and Tina started leading herself to Christ. I lead myself to my Bible every single morning. I lead myself into prayer. I'm not waiting. I'm not following and waiting for anyone to cover me anymore. I cover myself. We must be good leaders over our lives. We must follow teachings of good leaders over our lives. And the only way to do that is to see yourself, to know yourself. And in order to see yourself and know yourself, you got to see the people around you. Because there's going to be spirits that's going to come up. Spirits, remember the spirits episode. So God's spirits are going to come up that are going to rub you and rouse you. And if you are not strong and clear on who you are, you will follow that spirit because it needs something to attach on to. And if you're not grounded and rooted in you, what does a root do when it ain't grounded? It uproots itself. You will be uprooted. See, my roots, they planted in solid ground. In solid ground. You're not uprooting Tina's roots that easy. See, Quita was easily uprooted because Quita didn't see herself. Quita just sprinkled her seeds on the ground, and whoever watered them or wanted to come along and nourish them, that's where Quita's seeds was planted next. I didn't have a garden of my own. My garden was everybody else's playing field. Wherever you put me is where I landed. Today, I see the flower that I am, and I have a garden. When you see yourself, you don't want people stepping all over you. I don't allow people to just walk through my garden, walk through my temple is my garden. I protect it, I guide it. I'm not following anything. I'm not being led anywhere. And before you follow or lead yourself into my garden, you got to be able to walk cautiously. I need to be able to see your spirit. I need to be able to know that your spirit is not coming along to disrupt and destroy what it is that I'm trying to build. I enjoy seeing me today. I enjoy looking in the mirror at me today. I done carried me through some stuff. I done followed my whole, when I look back over all the things that I done followed, following Christ is the only thing that got me out of that despair. It was the only thing, my faith, I walk by faith, not by sight. My faith is the only thing that I follow. I'm no longer a follower. I only accept the teachings of Christ. If it ain't biblical, I don't follow. I'm not led any direction anymore. And I'm not leading people any direction anymore because I am guilty of leading people myself down some dark roads. Because sometimes when you don't know no better, you only know what you know. And it's not that, let's be clear, because Spirit just touched me on my shoulder and said, Tina, don't put that out your mouth. Don't you give that to your audience. I knew better. I knew better and I didn't care. Why? Because of mindsets, guys. You remember my mindsets episode? Everybody that I was surrounded around, mindset was the same. We were all following and leading each other in a circle of nowhere, in a circle of misery. I wanted to do better, but how many people was going to follow me to do better? And see, because I didn't see myself and I allowed those feelings of not wanting to be alone and not wanting to be the leader. I didn't want to be the leader. I didn't want to be the one to take the lead to say, you know what, guys, what we doing is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this or we shouldn't be doing that. So instead of me taking the lead, I took lead to allow people to follow me into my misery. And that ain't the lead that Tina wants to take today. That ain't how I want to lead people. And I don't want people following that type of a lead. You know, I was just joking with one of my sisters around on the phone because as a child, one of my favorite games was to play school. And it took a lot of friends away from me because they used to be like, who wants to play school? And we just sat at school all day. But Tina was always that teacher. I had to be the teacher. So if you played school with me, do know that you were the student and I was the teacher. That was always my role. I love to teach. I love to share my knowledge that I have with people. I don't like to keep it to myself. And sometimes that gets me into a lot of trouble. Well, let's say that led Quita into a lot of trouble because I taught a lot of people how to be a crook. I taught some people how to manipulate people and how to get over. I used my teaching abilities and allowed people to follow me in the negative. See, but the spirit of joy, guys, we started out talking about why I wasn't happy because I am in the presence of God and I have joy. So now I am self-disciplined. I have a growth mindset, and the things that I put forth out of my mouth is allowing people to grow, allowing people to see themselves. I take full account of the things that I say and do out my mouth. If I say it, I'm going to do it. I don't just go around saying stuff that I know that I'm not able to be accountable for and that I know that I'm not going to take account of. The only person that I want to follow is Christ. You know why? Because after following people all of these years and going through all of this, when he finally calls me home, all I want to hear is, well done, thy good and faithful servant. And I've heard that all my life, but I heard it about 2 years ago from Rev Pat. Shout out to Rev Pat. She's part of our amazing We Empower Network, and she does her daily devotionals Monday through Friday, following the We Empowered Morning Show, which you guys have to catch. We have a whole lineup, guys, if you didn't know, because all of us are a made up mess. Shout out to Wanda because she has the made up mess. And that's exactly what Quita is, a whole made up mess, guys. But she said that on one of her morning shows that all she wanted to hear was, well done, thy good and faithful servant. And it led me to continue following her. Why? Because she is a woman that is going to lead me closer into Christ. We have to be careful of what we follow. And just because I'm allowing her to lead me and I am following her, let's be clear, I lead myself to my Bible every day to reconfirm what it is that I'm hearing, to make sure that the teachings that are being put forth are accurate. See, that's something that Quita didn't do before. I just followed whatever it was that I was taught. And then I taught other people what I was taught. And we all just running around in a circle teaching people stuff without even taking the time to figure it out for self, if this is what we should be following and if we should be leading people to these followings. We have to be good leaders, guys. We can't sit and say that we love Christ and that we are daughters of Christ and that Christ is the head of our life, but then lead people into a dark road. If we are not leading people to the light, then what is the purpose of serving for God? Because that's what he wants from us. And again, this is just Tina giving you guys suggestions, giving you guys advice. Nobody has to follow me, and please do not be led by me. Lead yourself. I want y'all to see yourselves. I want y'all, because none of this is going to work if you don't see yourself anyway. The only way that any of my advice, because that's all it is it's honest, free advice that I'm giving you guys that I know works. Is it going to work the same way that it worked for me? Absolutely not, because we're not the same. And only you know you. Again, you got to see you. I see me, you got to see you. You know what works for you. Quita journals. Quita does breathing exercises. I walk. Yup. I will pace back and forth until my thoughts subside. I do whatever it takes to continue leading a Christ-filled life. Reading my Bible is my number one go-to. Reciting the scripture. Sometimes Tina don't know what to say, but I allow myself to be led by the Spirit. And as the Spirit is leading me, I slowly follow suit. And my soul slowly starts to comfort itself, and it slowly starts to feel relief. I don't allow myself to sit in those hopeless places of despair. We must have faith, guys, and faith is the evidence of things hoped for. If we have no hope, we have no faith. You cannot live a faith-ridden life and then be hopeless. It doesn't make sense. And we have to make sense of this thing. If you guys have faith and you believe in God, truly, truly, truly believe in God, then hopelessness shouldn't exist. All of your happiness should be replaced with a heart of joy, because you should be in the presence of God at all times. It says to pray without ceasing. And we all know that joy comes when we are in his presence. It is when we cry out to him. It is when we plead to him. Do you know he knows the sound of your cry? The sound of your voice, that you mean that much to him? I don't remember following not one person on the face of this earth that I meant that much to. Not my mother, not my father, not a sister, not a brother. And I know my mother loved me with every fiber of her being. I know that I have family and I have friends out there that love me dearly. But I have never felt the love that I feel from them the way I feel love from Christ. And they have led me in some good places. They have led me into some bad places. But nobody leads the way Christ leads. We have to start letting God be the leader of our life and following him. If you're going to be a follower or you're going to be a leader, follow the leader of Christ. You know the song, Follow the Leader? Let Christ be your leader and you be the follower. Accept the teachings of Christ. That's the only way to remain out of that place of hopelessness. Put all of your fears, all of your worries. Remember, are we operating in God's time or are we operating in our time? Which one are we doing? Because most of us, we operate in our time, and then when things don't go according to the way we want it, we get upset. God is always an on-time God, but he's not an on-our-time God. He's on his time. And hope, remember, hope is not something that we obtain quickly. Hope is something that takes time. It is a process. It took Quita time to get to know herself, and I'm still getting to know myself. As I follow Christ, every day I learn more and more and more about myself. And as I lead people, because I have people following me, and some people are only following me to keep track of the things that I'm doing and saying, to see if it aligns with the things that I'm doing and saying, to see if what I'm saying makes sense. And when people follow me to see if the things that I'm saying is in alignment and makes sense, I want them to be. I want them to be. I want the people who are following me, when they look at me, to be led straight to Christ. I want them to be able to see the Christ in me. Because today my life is managed. My life is organized, and I am capable of guiding people into the right direction. I no longer want to guide people and have people follow me down a road of destruction. Because Quita following people led her down the road of destruction. So it lays in my spirit, Tina, you see what we have to learn in this life. A lot of us, we can't see ourselves because of those resentments, those grudges that we talked about. We holding on to things that people did to us that we ourselves are guilty of doing to ourselves. We have to accept ourselves as who we are. If you don't like something about you, change it. You know, one of Tina's biggest pet peeves is to hear a person sit and complain about all the things that they don't like and not change them. Because that was Quita. And I think that's the reason. That's one of my pet peeves. Y'all see me. I was that person. I didn't like this. I complained. Remember, spirits, guys, I had that complaining spirit attached all over me. I didn't like nothing about myself because I didn't see myself. I didn't even know what I liked. I was just complaining that I didn't like it because I was just following suit of what everybody else was doing. I was that complete follower. Oh, you think I'm too fat? Oh my gosh, I'm too fat. Oh, you don't like my shirt? Oh, I don't like my shirt no more either. Tina, you bought the shirt. How you don't like it now because this person bought it? You liked it when you bought it? Because I was a follower. I didn't have a mind of my own. I didn't take accountability. I wasn't able to take account of the things that I was doing because I was too busy following the wrong set of leaders. So you guys, I want you all to go out this week to be a good leader and be a good follower. But make sure that the things you are leading and the things you are following is leading you to see you. To see you, to see Christ, to see others, and to see that you are victorious. God uniquely made you the way he wanted you. You no longer have to follow the ideas and the thoughts and the opinions of someone else. You have the right to lead the life that you want for you. You have that right to see you, to love you, to accept you, to embrace you, and to be who you want to be, regardless of what anyone else is saying. Be the leader you want to be. You don't like where people are leading you, start leading people where you want to be. And those are my thoughts for you guys for the week. Go out, see yourselves, see someone else, and most importantly, come back and see me. It has been fun. I am your host, Tina Wynn, and come back and join me again right here on the We Empower Network. Thank you.